Find My Device expansion. Oh yeah, I got an email about this. Google is finally rolling out its promised Find My Device expansion, which will help users locate both online and offline devices, and it works pretty much the same as Apple's Find My network. There's 1 billion plus Android devices in the network that'll ping your device over Bluetooth if it's nearby and send the end-to-end encrypted information to Find My Device. The system also stores recent locations with timestamps, so it can be used to find offline devices. And as recently as a couple of weeks ago, we managed to get Yvonne's purse back using an Apple AirTag. This is very really useful things. I told Luke about it already. That person was definitely going to keep it until I disclosed that there was a tracker on it, and I was going to be able to make noise with it as soon as I got in touch with my son back home to ping it, because I didn't bring an iPhone with me on the trip. Anywho, users that wish to opt out of the feature can do so through settings, and users can also manage when they want to participate, whether it's only in high traffic areas or all areas. Perhaps, controversially, users have the option to benefit from the network by using it to find their device without participating themselves. I am against that.
Yeah, me too.
I think that if you want to be able to find your device, I think Google should just draw the line here and basically say, no. What, you want to use the network to find your missing device, but you're not going to contribute to it? Why don't you just go drink a nice cold glass of f*** off and... Because like it's not like it's not encrypted.
Like not reseeding.
Yeah, not cool.
Yeah, if you're going to download a Linux ISO, you should help other people download Linux ISOs.
Unfortunately, the purse story, we were in a pretty chaotic headspace. I'm not going to remember all the details, but we were at Ludwig's for the shoot. We got an Uber back to our hotel, realized when we got to the hotel, holy crap, we don't have it. We assumed that she had accidentally left it in the Uber. Not remember, but you might not know this. We had pulled an all-nighter right before the trip, painting Plouf's car. She stayed up with me, and we were working on it together. Neither of us was really at our best on that trip. So we assumed it was in the Uber. We called the Uber driver, because that's a feature, and he was like, I have a fare right now. I'll check, when I pull over. He didn't call back. So Yvonne calls him back later. He goes, yeah, I checked in the back seat. It's not there. And she goes, well, okay, what about the trunk? And he's like, I have a fare. I'll check later. And we're like, okay, well, just in case it's not in the Uber, why don't we head back to Ludwig's studio?
Yeah.
It was not simple to get in touch with my son to check the AirTag location, because I had left my iPhone back home. So what am I going to need my iPhone for? I'll just bring my regular phone. So we hadn't managed to get in touch with him yet. So we were like, okay, well, why don't we just head back to the studio? Maybe we accidentally left it in the studio. We got there, and it was right around that time that we learned a bunch of things. So the driver got back to us eventually that it wasn't in the car. So we went, uh-oh. We searched the studio. It wasn't there. We got the ability to see where it was, but we couldn't ping it yet. Long story. We could ping it, but we couldn't find it in Ludwig's studio. So now we're really worried. Now we've got the last known location, but it was a long time ago, and it was at a park that was a little ways away from Ludwig's studio. And we're like, okay, that's a bad sign, because unless we drove past someone with an iPhone as we were leaving, and that was the last time it got pinged, and it was in the Uber, which the guy said it wasn't, but you never know. I had a cabbie lie and say that I didn't leave a jacket in a cab once, and they definitely had it. Unless that's what happened, this thing is pretty lost. And even if that's what happened, this thing is pretty lost. But then it started to get updates more recently, and it was just at the intersection near this park. And I had already had the idea that if we left it on the sidewalk, someone might have just grabbed it, been walking, because you're going to be moving, just ditched the tracker, in the park, just hucked it in a garbage can or something like that, and then took the purse with them, because the tracker's just hanging in plain sight off of the purse. It's not in a hidden pocket or anything. And so I had already kind of walked past this park a couple of times earlier. And while we were waiting and stuck and not able to get in touch with my son, I had suggested to Yvonne that we like walk around the park and like look in garbage cans and stuff like that, because it would be great if they just took the cash and then chucked the whole purse, tracker included. So I was kind of still holding out for that. So I didn't realize, because I was looking at the Find My app, never actually had to use it to find anything before. So I was looking at the Find My app through my son's phone at the other screen, and it's like a huge icon like this. And I didn't realize it actually comes to a pinpoint. So at some point I realized, no, it's exactly at that point in the intersection where that weird like hoarder looking truck full of garbage and with like a kid and someone in it, and clearly like no intention of moving. There's a lot of like RVs and stuff parked around. Like it was clearly a poorer neighborhood where people were living out of their vehicles. So clearly, so that vehicle had caught my eye before, and now I realized that the pin was like right on it. They didn't speak any English, so we had interacted with them just sort of casually already, but finally we were like, okay, well, we need to talk to them, because we're gonna have to like
Google Translate moment,
figure this out at some point. So we pull out Google Translate, and
nice.
Yvonne basically goes, I lost my purse, have you seen a purse? And they go, no. And we kind of go, okay, well, I need to wait a little bit longer before I can ping this on my own, because by then my son was doing something else and we couldn't just have like him ping it. Oh, right. Oh, I remember why we couldn't just have him ping it, because it wasn't near anything on the Find My network. So we had the last location, we had the ability to ping it with the iPhone, but we didn't have an iPhone. So we had to go back to, see, this is why I told you I was going to get the details wrong. We had to go back to the studio. My phone battery was dead, so I couldn't call Yvonne. I was worried the truck would like leave because they had seen me kind of walking around a lot. Right, we had to go back to the studio. They had an iPhone, but it belonged to an employee who wasn't there anymore. And they didn't have the pin to reset it. So we had to like search for whether a MacBook participates in the Find My network. We finally got that. We brought it back. We had to connect it to an internet connection, which wasn't working on my phone because my phone died. So we had to tether it to Yvonne's. Her phone was almost dying. So we finally got to that point. So then we talked to them again, because we'd already talked to them. We already said we lost the purse, but we didn't have any way to ping it. So now we had a way to ping it. I couldn't sign into my Apple ID on the MacBook because my 2FA was on my phone, which wasn't charged.
Dead.
I had to, so I was in the middle of reverse charging while Yvonne was sitting there, because there's an Android app that you can use to ping unfamiliar trackers, but it has to be near you for 10 minutes. So we have these multiple timers. I'm trying to reverse wireless charge my phone. I'm trying to figure out how to log into my Apple ID, maybe without it or something, or like I could TeamViewer into something and get something. And then Yvonne is meanwhile waiting for this countdown timer for the 10 minutes. So finally we get there and we're ready to talk to them again, and we're ready to ping it. And so I go over to the taco stand that's like on the street next to him, like, hey, Google Translate moment again. Do you mind turning down your music? I'm trying to hear a tracker. And we go back and ask one more time, hey, we've got a tracker on the purse. And so have you seen it? Because it's going to make a noise soon. And they go, oh yeah, I was going to give it to you. My kid was sleeping, so I couldn't before.
Oh yeah.
And we kind of go,
totally.
Okay. And she goes, yeah. I was going to give it to you. And this is, oh, right, a neighborhood kid has been brought in to translate. Yeah, I was going to give it to you. My husband found it and gave it to me, and I was going to give it to you. And we're like, okay, anytime now. So she goes and gets it, and sure enough, it's Yvonne's purse. I guess they had no idea what an AirTag was because it was still sitting on it. She hands it back to Yvonne, who immediately opens it up to give her the cash as a reward. As she's saying, everything's in there. And Yvonne goes, oh, well, I guess you helped yourself to your reward already, which may not have actually been the lady. It might have been the husband who found it.
Or even someone before that.
But one way or another, the cash wasn't in it. But you know what? Honestly, we were so happy to have it back that we had to go bother one of Ludwig's poor team members for like, this is probably the 4th or 5th time by this point, because we went in to look for it, and then we went into like borrow an iPhone, and then we went in to go like, hey, actually, how about a MacBook? And then we went in for some other reason. We're like ringing the door every time, right?
Like, who the heck are these guys?
No, I knew who knew we were. But then the last thing we had to do was because we, no offense to anyone, didn't really want to walk around and look for an ATM. We're like, hey, do you have any cash? We can like PayPal you replacement cash, but we had no cash on us because I don't carry it, and Yvonne had her cash taken. So we still gave her a reward, thinking maybe someone, because why would you?
Sure, why not?
Why would you confidently hand someone their purse, going everything's in it
when it's not,
when it wasn't?
So at the very least, she probably didn't know, or maybe didn't know. Who knows?
She very possibly didn't know, and they clearly hadn't had time to go through it in detail. So what I suspect was Buddy picked it up, grabbed the cash immediately so that he didn't have to tell his wife that he had cash, because like some relationships are like that, and I definitely got a vibe that, you know, there might have been some dishonesty around.
Yeah.
You know, so probably grabbed the cash, dumped it in the like hoarder looking truck thing that was just, it was like full of garbage, which is weird because there were garbage cans in the park that were empty. They could have easily put their garbage in there, but no, they chose to keep it in their truck. And then intended to go and look through it later is the vibe I got, because her AirPods were still in there. And AirPods Pros, like, if you have any idea what those are, that's one of the first things you're stealing.
Those pretty quick, yeah.
Yeah, her AirPods Pros were still in there. There were no transactions on any of the credit cards. None of them had been removed. Clearly, they thought they had all the time in the world to come back and go through it and figure out, you know, what was of value other than the cash. So thank you, Apple, for your Airtags system that you are now finally have done your part to help Google also have their own system, so I don't have to buy your AirTags anymore, and I'll actually be able to ping stuff myself without carrying around my stupid iPhone.
But does Google have, like, what tracker can we get on the Google side? Well,
they'll be coming.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's going to be
that'll
good
be
stuff.
really nice.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy that we got it back. We ended up giving, we offered them a meal because there was the food stand right there, and they were like, no, I don't want that. And so we went and got cash and brought it back. I'm like, okay. Sure, fine. I decided on $60 for those of you who must know. I felt like there were apparently 3 of them, so they can get some food. And I figure I didn't owe them any more than the bare minimum, since,
I mean, they were clearly not intending on giving it back.
One of them or another already had our cash.
Yeah.
And the other one clearly didn't intend to give us back the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? You were going to return it. If you were going to return it, you could have easily found the phone number in it and called it. That would have been an option. Anyway, it was very, very stressful. This was like the first day of our trip. This was the second day of our trip, and we had 2 more days to come, and it would have just been, fortunately, her passport was not in there.
Yeah.
She had her passport separate. Never have everything together.
Some countries force you to walk around with your passport.
That is utterly insane.
Yeah, but it is a thing. But if that's not the case, leave it in your hotel safe.